meeting to order, please. We're going to stand for Brother Glenn's going to lead us in prayer, and we're going to say a pledge of allegiance.
Lord, we thank you so much for this day, and we thank you for this great nation we live in, this community. And Lord, we know that you have all the answers to all the problems in the world. And Lord, we just ask that you be with us. Bless this meeting with your presence, your grace, and help us to be sensitive to you, Lord. We thank you for these things, Father, in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can you call the roll, please?
Mayor Packey,
Here.
Mr. Pollock,
Here.
Mr. Smith,
Here.
Mr. Welly,
Here.
Mr. Wolf.
Here. Thank you. Before we get started, Adrian, welcome. Glad you're here. All right. Moving on, citizens' comments. I think everyone knows the protocol. Have any citizens' comments? Yes, sir.
My name is Melvin Swearingen. I live at 313 Robin Lane. And I just have a request or a petition for word. We have a problem on Robin Lane with speeding. And I was just wondering if there was any way we could possibly have some speed limit signs placed. I don't know if there's a...
Have you brought that to anyone's attention prior to that?
I have. This is my first attempt to.
Why don't you,
someone about that?
administrator, take note of that and get your contact information. We can try to figure out what we can do.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Other citizens' comments? Any other citizens' comments? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Elena Roberts. I live at 1005 Lot A, Cypress Lane, and I've got several comments. I'm going to try to keep it brief, and I did bring every bit of this up before at the P&Z meeting. We also have, as homeowners in our area on 15th Street, a petition signed with probably 200 signatures of people in the area who are residents and homeowners in the area who are very much begging for your attention to please, 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 please listen to us. We live in this area every day, day in, day out, and we deserve to be heard on the issues that are happening on the backside of Mexico Beach. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people who don't go back that far. Most of their livelihood and their lives are on and around 98. So 15th Street's basically used as a cut through for people who are trying to avoid that corner of 98 in Gulf County. That's what this petition is about. My personal problem is with the building project that Mr. Lance has come to the P&Z with before. This building project it has a lot to be desired. The drainage that we've discussed in the P&Z board meeting, he said that the piping was going to be 9 inches for drainage.
Let me stop you for a minute. That's on the agenda today.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
For this project, it's on.
There's a site plan review that's being proposed, so it's an agenda item, is my point.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your comments will be more appropriate at that time, and you'll be allowed to speak about that.
Oh, I thought that's what we were discussing.
No, we're discussing citizens' comments.
Thank you. And I'll.
Okay, you can defer. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other citizens' comments? Okay. Moving to the consent agenda, we have one set of minutes for April 26th. If there's no additions or corrections, do I have a motion to approve by consent?
Make a motion to approve consent agenda.
We have a motion and a second. Any opposition? Motion carries 5-0. Excuse me. Moving to our regular agenda. First is department report. Doug?
Good morning, sir. Thank you, council. This morning, our first report is going to be from Tommy Davis, our Public Works Director.
Good morning, council. Good morning, everyone. Quick update on Public Works. Start with the dredge. The canal is wide open. We are still working on getting to the west side. Troy is doing that now, and Nick. We will get that open, I assure you. We kind of a little slowed back. Of course, the weather. This has been an unprecedented year for the storms on the weekends, and every time we get started to move around on the west side, we get a storm comes in on the weekend and sends us back over. But we will get that done, hopefully within the next month. We'll get all that cleaned up. So just want to let everybody know. We also have a couple of rocks that are inside the channel that has rebar sticking up on them. Nick actually dove down on them and put his hands on them. We're in the process now of getting a crane to come down and get those out of there. They're hanging our hose up as we try to stretch out to go around on the west side. We're going to get those cleaned up also, hopefully probably maybe this week. That'll be a big help. But every time we get out there, they get something hung up on it and it shuts us down. Quick update on Parker Park. We're just about got a stage built to go down. We're going to start doing some music, like we used to do, music in the park. We're going to get that down there sometime this week. So something to look forward to. Food vendors and trying to get back like we were before the storm. The guys has worked really hard to get that stage built, and it looks really nice. Boat ramp, just give update. Everybody knows snapper season is about a month away. We're getting everything cleaned up down there now. We've got the overflow parking lot done. The exit coming out looks really nice. So we're continuing to get that cleaned up, stuff moved out of there, so we can get snapper season full blown. Stormwater, working on some different things throughout the city to try to improve our stormwater. We know that we got issues, and we're working on them every day to try to make those better. I've said it before, if you've got problems with water, contact me. We'll come around, look at it, see if we can come up with short-term ideas to help get that water moving until the major stormwater project comes in and hopefully gets all those things taken care of. You'll notice we're back cutting grass. We've been working on ditches, especially along 386, trying to get a lot of overgrown stuff cut. If you notice down behind Robin Lane and Wysong, the guys that went in there, cleaned all that up. Looks really nice. Everything's been cut down. So we're trying to get all that kind of caught up before summer gets really kicked off. Also, we're working on a grant for 8th Street ditch to shore up the bank through there. Today we are planting trees along that bank. That will help keep the sides from washing in. So if you see people down there from the city planting trees, you'll know what that is. It's a grant that we're working on. And last week last part of last week, we spent most of last week beach raking. The beach is in pretty good shape. I went down it yesterday. Looks really nice. Ricky Farmer done a really good job getting that cleaned up for us, and we always continue to do that. We will be doing a little work on the beach rake. Kimberly from CDC had got with me, and they have a little bit of money, so we can do some upgrades on that, a little bit of repairs that needs to be done. So we are working on that. But other than that, basically with Public Works, it's just business as usual. Summer's here, business picking up, and a lot of people in town. So if anybody's got any questions, I'd be glad to answer them for you.
Hey, Tommy, And we're gonna say thanks for cleaning up that sidewalk on the boat ramp.
Yeah.
Down there, that looks, way better.
We're working on that. We've got a plan. I spoke with Doug about that. We're going to, I think, fix that where we don't have that problem of that sand washing over the edge. So we are working on that.
I appreciate it.
Anybody else?
Thank you, Tom.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
The next report is by Lieutenant Williams for the Sheriff's Office report.
Everything's been going very good so far. A little technical difficulty with the computer and printing up those numbers, and my sergeant slacking, so I have to get on to him about the charts and graphs and everything. But I was going to bring our new guy in here. It's Matt Geezy. He's going to be working with us for a while, maybe for a good time. But we're going to try him out and see how he does and put him through his probationary period and everything. His name is Matt Geezy. That's Matt, or and anytime you call, he'll come running.
Welcome to our little town, man.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Any questions?
That's the shortest report. Everything must be great.
Everything's going good, boss?
We need Martin.
I'll send him back.
Welcome aboard, man.
Thank you.
All right. Number 2 is planning and zoning application. Mr. Harrell, John Harrell.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. John Harrell had put on an application to be for an appointment on the Planning and Zoning Board. He's a local resident. He's got a lot of history working with construction, fences, decks, things of that nature. Seems to be an interested resident and has requested approval to come on the Planning and Zoning Board. So his application is here for your review and direction.
Is this an alternate, or is
This would be an alternate. We filled the second alternate. We have one vacancy right now as an alternate.
Is
I
he?
am.
No, is Mr. Harrell here?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking up.
Not that tall.
I've met Mr. Harrell and Debbie both as I was out campaigning, and I appreciate his willingness to serve. As a new guy on the board, I kind of feel like I'd like to know, do we know our term limits, any swearing in? I don't know the process, so I'm asking, are there currently term limits for people that are on the board? How's that term limit work?
They are tournament.
Yeah, I can.
Where we stand? Are we looking at replacing 3 of them in the next year, or 2 of them? What?
Would you like me to answer that, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
So currently we have 5 active members that are officially on the council, our planning and zoning board, and we have 1 alternate, and this would be the second alternate. Currently, and I've just started looking into this because we have new people that are approaching us to be part of this committee, excuse me. And every one of them currently have expired terms, so there would have to be something done based on LEC related to the members and their appointment. They have 2-year terms. In 2019, you guys, I think it was February of 2019, you guys asked for an extension, or you re-swore everybody in for 2 additional years. That would have ended as of January 8th, 2021. So we've been outside those limits for a little bit.
Okay.
Well, with that answer, I would probably say that just my suggestion on this, I obviously looked at, I would suggest we table it and try to understand where we stand. And if we're replacing people in the next year, the next 6 months, where we stand, I'm not sure.
I agree.
Just for the record, the posts 2 and 4 are both alternate positions would expire January 8th, 2024 if you reinstated them now, because they would finish out that term. If your reinstatement's done for posts 1, 3, and 5, they would expire in January 8th, 2023, so we'd have 3 new ones or reappointments, however you guys decide. So it's at the pleasure of the board.
Well, I think that ought to be something that I didn't realize that they were expired. I think we ought to just put that, give us some information, and then so we can discuss it at the next meeting and have something to see what, and they're gonna find out how many of those people even know that they're on an expired term. I don't know if they do.
I haven't spoken to any of them. I haven't spoken to any of them about that yet. I could reach out to each one of them and see if they're still interested, get an updated application, bring all the applications and anybody else out there in the public that wanted to apply. I did get approached by another resident that was interested, but there's not really a spot. He was still going to put his application for future, so maybe we could get
Yeah, I think we need to
resubmittal.
housekeep that P&Z board and just find out if everyone is aware and what they're wanting to do, and then bring back a sort of a report, if you would, and see what we need to do to get it back in line with the LDR.
Yeah, I can have that available. I think we have our next meeting, this is still in the month of May, which is prior to the next meeting, so I can bring back a recommendation.
Yeah.
I think housekeeping is the proper term.
Yeah.
Make sure what's going on.
Is everybody good with that? So we just get us a report, and then we can find out what we need to do.
So your motion
What's
was
actually on
tabled.
the alternate, is the alternate the same as far as the 2 years, or?
Yes, sir. They also run in 2-year terms, but they have the option to fill a vacant seat if somebody resigns mid-term, and then we would refill that one. We have to swear in the next person, and another one's put on. They're sworn in as well, so they can always step in if somebody's absent to vote at a meeting. So yes, they do have 2-year terms, but they're all reappointable. They can continue. There's no term limit. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right, they can be reappointed.
Yeah, it's at the pleasure of the vote. So, I guess you made a motion, sir. I'm sorry. I thought you made a motion to table it.
Oh, I did make a motion to table the planning and zoning application and the process.
Okay, we have a motion just to table till we get a more full, more review of what we have, what we have.
I have a question. Does that mean you're not gonna fill the alternate spot at this time? You're gonna leave it
No, we're
open?
just gonna table this till we can, till the next meeting.
Correct.
So we're not gonna fill it,
So my application is gonna be.
your application is just gonna be passed right on down the line. Till the next meeting, and we'll act like then we'll also have the other information and recommendation from the administrator. Okay? And I do think you should touch base with those folks and see, so that everybody, so we know what they're.
I'll each one of them, yes, sir.
Okay. We have a motion to table. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to table. Is there any opposition to table? Okay. We'll transfer that to the next meeting. All right, number 3 is the beach vending, second reading of ordinance 782, beach vending, and before we begin or open for discussion is the locations are still not part of the ordinance. The addresses are here, but we had discussed putting the locations. People are going to know what they are when they read this. Like 719 should be identified as whatever 719 is. 903 should be identified as whatever the Driftwood Inn is, or whatever. We went through that last time, and I didn't see that got put in here.
I read that out loud. I'll make sure it's in there before the final.
I mean, it's something, we can still do it, it just needs to be.
My apologies on that. We'll get those added.
Those need to be identified. All right, is there a motion to read ordinance 782 by title only, or discussion of this ordinance?
Make a motion to read ordinance 782 by title only.
And a second.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Tammy, please read.
Ordinance 782, an ordinance of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, extending the waiver of the requirement for a planned business in order to operate a beach vending business as contained in Section 5.3 of Ordinance 740 for certain already qualified businesses and providing for an effective date.
Is there any comments concerning this or questions? Anyone? Okay, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 782.
So,
Have a motion and a second to approve. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy,
Yes.
Mr. Pollak,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Welly,
Yes.
Mr. Wolf.
Yes.
All right. And if you would, in the final ordinance, please include those locations.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Number 4 is where we somehow omitted, I guess, in the ordinance 783, where the glass containers on the beach as well as the digging of the holes. This is also a second reading. Do I have a motion to read by title only?
So moved.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Tammy, please read.
Ordinance 783, an ordinance of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, prohibiting glass on the beach and holes on the beach in excess of 2 feet deep, providing for enforcement, providing a penalty or fine for violations, providing for severability, providing repeal of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Any comments about this? Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve ordinance 783.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy,
Yes.
Mr. Pollak,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Welly,
Yes.
Mr. Wolf.
Yes.
Okay. Excuse me. Number 5 is the annexation of the 25 acres that was from behind us here for the fire, police, and civic center properties, but that we've identified as that anyway. It could be more than that. This is a requirement. The attorney advised us we're just following the process of annexation and bringing that into the city. Do I have a motion to read ordinance 784 by title only?
I make a motion to read ordinance 784 by title only.
By title only.
I'll second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please read.
Ordinance 784, an ordinance of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, providing for the voluntary annexation of parcel ID number 04127-010-000, providing a legal description of the lands to be annexed, more specifically described in this ordinance as petitioned by the property owner pursuant to section 171.044 Florida statutes, providing for the redefining of the city boundaries to include said lands, making certain findings, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Okay. Any questions about this? Any comments about the annexation of the acres, 25 acres? All right, that's our first reading. That'll go on our next meeting.
Correct. Along with ordinance 785, which is bringing in the large scale plan amendment, bringing in that property with specific zoning criteria.
So we'll have that.
That'll be the first reading of that next week. The second reading of this one, annexing the property into the city, will happen next week. The first reading of that. Then we send a plan off to the DEO and about 6 other state agencies, and we have to wait for them to approve us bringing that in at that zoning criteria. And then once we get that one, the second reading of that will be done.
Just to be clear, you're talking about the additional 80 acres that we just closed on as a bringing in that for the annexation process also, or no?
No, that's not what I was talking about here. We're doing that next. That process is,
So
we're going to be doing this again for the 80.
Yeah, for the 80 acres now.
We've officially closed on that. So.
Right. We haven't started that annexation.
We haven't started that yet.
Okay. Moving on, number 6. Site plan approval at 932 15th Street.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. So for the site plan approval, This is, just to be clear, the final approval request will come back at a later council meeting for final approval after all permits and stuff are received or required. So today we have, for the applicant, we have Lance. We also have Dewberry here who's done the plan review, so, and EPCI. So it's your pleasure to start with Lance for the review.
For the record, this is a public hearing we're opening for a public hearing at 932 15th Street. And if you choose to come forward, Lance, are you starting?
Sir.
All right, come on.
Lance Watson, Southeastern Consulting Engineers. The GRW Investment LLC is proposed to construct a new development, and currently it's submitted as being called the Villa at Mexico Beach. It was requested at the PSC meeting to possibly change the name because you have a Villas of Mexico Beach, so there may be a name change, but for now, that's what it's submitted as. The proposed development is, it includes 8 residential multifamily structures with 40 units total. 5 of the structures are sixplexes, 2 of the structures are quadruplexes, 1 of the structures is a duplex, with totaling 40 residential units. Each unit will be raised on pylons with parking underneath, in addition to the 2 parking spaces in front of the units. There's a 24-foot wide paved asphalt driveway with a 12-foot wide ribbon curve, a 12-inch wide ribbon curve, with a hammerhead cul-de-sac at the terminating end of the driveway for emergency vehicle turnaround. There's also a proposed 1,450 square foot pool house with a pool with additional parking and for vehicles and golf carts to serve the community, additional parking as well as handicap parking. The buildings right now are proposed at approximately 18 foot off the property line to allow sufficient buffer, 10-foot minimum buffer for Mexico Beach adjacent to residential properties. The allowable density is 18 units per acre, so that would be 112 units. Only 40 units are proposed in this proposal. The allowable impervious percentage is 90%. We are proposing 33.08% impervious. All setbacks, buffer, and other land development codes have been met for the placement of the buildings and drive aisles, parking, that sort of thing. One thing I did want to mention, I guess first, like Doug said, so today the request is for conceptual site plan approval so that the developer can move forward with design, not only to address any comments on the site, but also architectural plans, water, sewer permits, stormwater permits, all of that has been designed between this conceptual meeting and the final approval meeting. All of those permits will be obtained, as well as the condominium association documents. Sidewalks, one comment we had in the past for sidewalks in this scenario, there's 2 things in the sidewalk portion of the land development code. One being that sidewalks are required to take up a city block, but I think more notably here that all currently platted lots are exempt from sidewalk requirements. That's 3.02.01. Let's see. There are quite a few comments at the last meeting, at the P&Z meeting, so I just wanted to go through a couple of those. There is right now, and previously, there's a ditch on both sides of the property that at some point drained on the property lines to the roadway, in fact, on the back side, back to the wetland. Those have been cleaned out, and I think as recent as the last meeting should have been dressed up as well, because things end up blocking the ditch. But so that's been done. Building height will proposed, the building height for commercial is 48 feet, so obviously that's not going to, nothing will exceed that height as far as the building height goes. The traffic was mentioned, so we're not meeting the threshold of needing a traffic study, turn lane analysis, anything like that for these units. I know that traffic was brought up in the last meeting. Traffic's been brought up quite a few times on 15th Street. It has been directed at development, this development as well, but I think traffic and speed and trucks parked, delivery trucks parked on the side of the road is a little bit outside of anything to do with this development, but that has been discussed. This drive aisle has been designed with the side visibility triangle, Mexico Beach, so that's been accounted for in the design for the LDC. Drainage. So drainage, and I think the biggest concern so far, at least that I've seen, is the compensatory fill. So in this is in a shaded X flood zone, 500-year floodplain. So that there in the land development code, it does mention 1 foot of fill is exempt from compensatory treatment. And it also says that the floodplain administrator has the authority to, on a case-by-case basis, allow more than that. So that's been discussed with city staff, and that's why we are where we're at in this point of the design. It definitely wasn't something that was intentionally blindly missed. That was discussed and accounted for on the design side before we got anywhere close to this point. But that's definitely a topic of discussion today. And when we leave here today, I just want to reiterate that this is the intent of this submittal or this meeting is for either conceptual approval so we can move forward as is, or for comments to be addressed before we come back for final approval.
Any questions for Lance in terms of what he's presented?
I have a couple. Is it a pre-platted lot? Because you talk about that sidewalks, the deed shows it by meets and bounds. It doesn't reference a plat. So I don't know that it's a platted lot.
Well, it's probably not a 471 or whatever the statute number is, platted lot, but it's definitely existing parcel.
So would it be exempt from sidewalk?
What is it?
So is it exempt from sidewalk?
Well, it's also not taking up a city block.
Okay. And then the other one was about the compensatory storage study, but I'm assuming Dewberry's going to talk too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll wait for that.
Add a couple also on the parking. You show that there's going to be pylons.
Yes, sir.
And then that area underneath the pylon or underneath the house is going to be that residence parking, right?
Well, the designated parking is in front. There's parking spaces in front of them, so there's additional parking underneath.
Okay, so additional parking underneath, you have 2 spaces in front.
Yes, sir.
Then you have a clubhouse that has 4 parking spots, 5 or 6 parking spots with 2 handicap and 4 regular.
Yes, sir.
That's
And
it.
that's just additional. That's serving this community, so that's additional parking. In case somebody wants to
Additional
drive.
6 parking spaces for 40 area.
Well, they don't have to be any parking spaces.
Right, I'm with
At
you.
the pool house.
I'm asking for a safety reason. I mean, we have 1 street in, 1 street out. You've got residence parking only, and then you have overflow of 6 parking spaces.
At
That's
pool
it.
house.
There's no parking on the street.
Right. So 2 parking spots required for each unit. The intent for the parking at the pool house was for handicapped or folks that with less mobility.
2 handicap. 2 handicap
Yes, sir.
spots.
Yes, sir. None are
4
required.
regular parking spots.
Right, none are required for the pool. It's within the distance of the units that there's no parking required for the pool. That's additional parking for, most people are gonna walk the pool, but that's additional parking for the folks that might wanna drive either a car or a golf cart to the pool. It's not for the public outside this development.
I was thinking more of the residents who have people visit.
Lance, one of my main concern is the people's already there. What type of border are we gonna have in between this project and their houses?
There will be a 10-foot buffer. We've got a landscape plan. I don't know if it's in the packet, but we've got a landscape plan. There's going to be, there'll have to be a fence and a buffer, a 10-foot buffer minimum to meet the land development code. So we've got 18 feet between the buildings and the property lines, so we've got sufficient room for that 10-foot buffer and privacy fence, whatever kind of fence is needed to meet the buffer requirements of the city.
Well, we got a privacy fence, 6 foot, 10 foot at the most, but you got a 48-foot building.
Yes, sir. Well, we've got the ability to build a 48-foot building. I doubt they're going to be that tall. Before we get back to the next meeting, we'll have architectural plans showing the final height, but I doubt they'll meet that 48-foot maximum height, but that's the allowable height for the land development.
Well, I personally would like to see more concern on the border from them. And of course, we all know about the flood and the water going down to the wetland on it. But I want to make sure they are completely covered.
Yes, sir.
So I like to see that.
Okay, and we've got a landscape plan now, and that'll be in the final too. But when it comes back to the final, you'll actually be able to see the building elevations. The landscape plan will be included in the packet. It's already complete. Didn't make it a packet. All of that will be included, and it will meet the land development code for buffer requirements between commercial and residential.
Out of the 6 1/4 acres, it seems like 2 1/4 acres are wetland on the backside. You have less than ½ acre that's inside, and you isolate about 1/4 acre, right? You're isolating an area within the build?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's within the build, so you're actually filling in just 3 small areas.
Yeah, and what we're filling in is just to get the slope back down to existing grade from the pool area and the upland area.
Is there a commitment not to do anything back here?
Yes, sir. We can't do anything back there. And we have to adhere to a 30-foot wetland buffer as well. So that buffer is shown on the survey as well.
One more question. On the build, you have 8 structures. Is this a build 8 structures and sell them, or is it a build 1 structure and it gets sold?
That would be a question for the developer and contractor. I would assume they would build it out all at the same time rather than phasing it out.
And sell?
And it's individual units. Possibly sell. I don't know the intent fully, and the intent, whatever the intent is, it would change after it's built. But whether they're rented or sold to a permanent residence, I'm not sure.
I'd be more concerned about them all getting built and then having them sold or rented, whatever you do.
But I would assume, and David may want to speak on that next or at some point today, but my initial thought is that they would probably build out all of the units at the same time.
I'm a boat trailer parking, I haven't.
So
And you know everybody here's gonna have a boat.
And that's why we had, in an attempt to account for that, that's why we designed the houses to be on pilings rather than on the ground, to have additional parking and a 24-foot wide drive aisle instead of something smaller to give them room to be able to turn around. In addition to, I think, 20-foot deep parking spots in front of the building.
If you took, and I'm looking, if you took away the parking in the front, could everybody park at 2 vehicles up under?
Yes, sir. They could. No, they're not gonna park the Yellowstone under it, but.
I understand, but you you could put a boat.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I can answer the question quickly about the capacity that he was speaking about, your question about the compensatory.
Yes, the compensatory storage study.
Sure, that wasn't, Dewey and I reviewed that. We got the latest numbers from the county showing for fiscal year 21, the average and the capacity is 38.3% for the entire year. And then currently, up until February of 2022, we haven't got the next quarter yet, our capacity use is 24%. So we're tracking just fine with those. Our water, there's no limitations on the water. They're begging us to use more water. They have to pour it on the ground, is what he explained to me, because we're not using enough. So there's more than enough capacity for our water coming this way. So for those two utilities, we have plenty of capacity. And that would all come back as part of the final packet.
All right, floor is open. Public hearing is open. Yes, ma'am.
I want to apologize before. I'm new to this, so I
You're
don't
fine.
really know
You're
the
fine.
rules. And I'm sorry.
No.
I didn't mean to burst protocol. But part of our problem is, as before I stated, I live on Cypress Lane 1005A, and my name's Elena Roberts. First of all, this thing is going to be enormous. It's going to be like living under Paradise Shores with a 20 feet difference off of my back fence. Literally. We're not happy about that, but obviously we can't judge and decide who's going to build what when they own their own property. They can do what they want, basically, within limits. But if we keep filling up all of our commercial area with lodging and livability, where does that leave us for a restaurant? What availability is there going to be for a grocery store for this area? Where does this help the economy of Mexico Beach to expand our own economy and be our own real city? Because right now, even the residents who live here permanently have to outsource our daily living necessities, groceries. There's no grocery store. Unless you're really fond of ravioli and frozen dinners, which you could buy at Dollar General. But then again, that's not here in Mexico Beach. That's in Gulf County. So that's not benefiting us at all as a community. Everything that is here is basically being outsourced, except the beach, and that's free. That's free. We make a little money off of people putting boats in our harbor, which is fantastic, by the way. Just wanted to throw that out there. I love the harbor, it's beautiful. But what I'm saying is, it is a problem for us because people do come here to stay, to sleep, to vacation. But let's be honest, when was the last time y'all went on vacation to eat out of a food truck? Are we gonna really allow this to continue? Because personally, when I go on vacation, eating out of a food truck is definitely not on my agenda. You know, I mean, the only sit-down restaurant that we have in Mexico Beach anymore since the hurricane is Mango Marley's. Personally, I'm very fond
Now,
of
let me try to help us here. I appreciate what you're saying, but it has no relevance
To this?
to this.
Okay, I
And
was
so
getting
try
that.
to circle it in.
Okay.
Thank you.
As far as this is concerned, I have serious concerns with the drainage issues because they were proposing at the planning and zoning meeting that the pipes that were planned to go down the middle of this construction were going to be 9 inches big. 9 inches worth of drainage is not going to be near enough for almost 7 acres worth of water collected that was there before they brought in mountains of dirt. We're in a non-flood zone. Why do they need 3-foot built dirt up in the air in a non-flood zone area and then put stilts on top of that? I don't know where he's starting, and Mr. Lance is a fine person. He's very sweet, very polite, but this is business. This ain't friendship. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to put you down.
That's okay.
But I don't know where he's getting for his measurements. Is he measuring from ground level? Or is he measuring from the bottom of the pylons for how big these buildings are gonna be on top of stilts? Or is he measuring from the already 3-foot dirt level that they're putting out there up? Which is it? Also, the 3-foot mounds of dirt, the 1,500 truckloads of dirt that he said are now being maintained. As of last evening, I went down there and personally took pictures myself because I live right there. The ditch is still full of trash. The dirt that they put little fences, the little plastic dirt erosion stoppers up, they're still broken down. There is dirt blowing over the top of them, and I've got pictures to show you. He said that's been addressed. Not unless the good fairy came last night and did it for him. It has not. It still looks just like it did when they said at the planning and zoning meeting that it would be taken care of, and it has not. So if you would like to, after this meeting, I'm positive if you go back there and drive over there, as soon as we all leave here, you'll see for yourself. I don't even need to provide my pictures. But I do have them if you'd like to see them. If the dirt cannot be maintained, and we can't really rely on them to do what they said they would do at the last meeting, how can we rely on them to make for sure that they're going to address the concerns in this proposal right now if it's approved right now? Because if it's approved right now, it's approved as is. I mean, you see what I'm saying? I have trust issues about this whole thing. And in my former job, my former living, if it ain't written, it ain't done. And if it's not in black and white, you can't trust it, you can't rely on it, because somebody's going to go, oh, we forgot. We need to take our time and look at what this is doing to us. And not just me personally, not just because I have to live in the shadow of this thing, but because of what it's doing to Mexico Beach. You yourself, you had me in tears right after the hurricane when you said, right out here on these pickleball courts, Mexico Beach is not for sale. I couldn't scream loud enough, so I was crying. Our way of life is not for sale. Well, it's starting to look like it really is. I mean, these people can come in here and just because they have the money and the availability to buy up all of our property around here, it don't give them the right to run us all over. Just because they want to make a profit because we have a slice of heaven. It won't stay that slice of heaven for long if they keep doing what they're doing. I don't see how this is going to help Mexico Beach at all. It's just going to be a place for a bed and breakfast. And since we don't have a lot of restaurants, you can take off the breakfast. So, I mean, do you see where I'm coming from? I mean, we're going to turn into a really nice place to come and sleep and walk on the beach. But if you want to spend your money and do some shopping, you got to go outside. You got to go someplace else. Unless you're really fond of ravioli and food truck food. And personally, that's not how I spend my vacation. And I don't see where it's going to make us popular. It's going to make people want to come here. And I mean, I'm all for that. But I don't see how that's going to help us to do that, to achieve that. Because we don't really have much to offer except our beaches. And they're beautiful, but people are going to spend their money elsewhere. They're not going to do it here. And I also have a partner in crime who would also like to speak, but only when it's his turn, so I can turn him up.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, floor still open. Yes, ma'am.
My name's Jean Byrne. I live at 101 Ocean Plantation Circle. I have two specific questions. The 48 feet that I guess is allowable because it's commercial, even though it doesn't really fit in with the scale of the rest of the neighborhood, does it? And also sidewalks, I know this relates to the other project, but at one point, because I walk on 15th Street all the time to get down to the beach, and it is a life-threatening gesture to try to go over the bridge. But my understanding was at one point with the Corps of Engineers and a design thing, we were going to have sidewalks all the way down, and then fingers crossed we were going to have some kind of a footbridge over the canal so that we could get to the beach. And I hear them saying that they don't have to put in sidewalks because it's not quite a city block, but part of the thing was to sidewalk. I thought the entire...
That's their interpretation.
Okay.
I'm not sure it's our interpretation.
Okay, because it wasn't my interpretation either. But that
I
was,
read it, I'm just,
yes, okay. So those were my two concerns about this particular project was, of course, the flood issue, but also the height issue and the walkability issue. Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Mayor, Council, Rock Creek, Colorado Drive. One thing hasn't been mentioned about this project, and it's the first I've seen since I've seen all these projects coming up here. What is it, 112 units can be built, and the developer is building 40. Somebody ought to be saying thank you for that. I mean, believe me, I feel bad for these people who live next to that, but your zoning and land development code lets you go up to 48 feet. You know, to me, that's like saying, hey, I bought my house by the airport, now let me bitch about the airplanes. I mean, you know what's next to you. That was the zoning. And I know with the flooding and everything else, I was at the PZ meeting, I looked at all their plans. Land's really described really well, and I didn't hear that come out here, but the way they're sloping everything, it doesn't matter if it's built up 3 feet or 1 foot, the slope is the same. He has everything going back to the wetlands. They even put gutters on all their buildings that are going to be piped to the wetlands. So all the runoff is actually going to the back. I don't know what more they could do for the runoff part. But I mean, for a developer, everybody's complaining about, so if you go 48 feet, they can put 112 houses there. They can put 112. You know they're all going to be rentals, and they're going to be people living there full time. 90% of them are going to be rentals. So I mean, you're looking at 40 versus 112. I don't know how you're going to do anything better than that. That's something you need to look at. Thank you.
next. Floor still open.
Yes, I would like to address the board.
Hello.
Good morning. I'm Brad Black. I'm married to Judith Black. She owns unit number 9 in Sea Pines. That address is 1004 15th Street. I was on my way to come to speak with you personally, but got a call around my drive from Oklahoma City. I was near Little Rock, Arkansas. I found out my wife was in the emergency room, so I turned around immediately and am unable to personally attend your meeting. But this technology is wonderful, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. My background, just to clarify, I'm a licensed architect in Oklahoma as well as in Florida. I am no longer practicing architecture. I'm also a former certified general appraiser. I've retired that. And recently I've also put on retirement status my MAI designation with the Appraisal Institute. That's a commercial designation that is often preferred by banks, governments, real estate investment trusts, etc., to appraise real estate. I believe Elena has passed out and made available to each of you a packet that I put together. You probably have seen this with some chance to review it earlier last week, as I freely shared this among members of the City Council, our city administrators, as well as planning and zoning members. if you'll look at that, please, I'll kind of guide you through real quickly. Do you have those available to you, sir?
We do. We all have been
Great.
given one.
Okay. The first of all, I'd like to ask Lance one question, if he could respond. Lance, is your developer's intention to build 2.5-story dwellings on top of piers, or is it 2-story dwellings on top of piers, as you have delineated in your site plan?
Preliminarily, it's 2.5 stories on top of pilings, and that will plans will actually be provided at the final submittal. So this is not the final submittal. This is conceptual approval and opportunity for comments to address prior to the final submittal. And so the intent is to address comments from the council and from the city staff, as well as provide architectural plans and condominium association documents showing exactly what would be built. But right now, the preliminary intent is 2.5 stories.
Okay, and I appreciate that. An additional question to you, Lance, is my interpretation of your plan is that you will have a continuous retaining wall running along the 4 building on the west side of your site. That this would be up to the single-family homes that exist there. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I believe your neighbors would prefer, and I believe LDR calls out for 6-foot vision fence. I would highly recommend that you put that on top of that retaining wall to provide the highest level of privacy. I can find on your plans one statement of a 6-foot fence, and I believe they were the existing 6-foot fences behind 3 or 4 of the homes that abut your client's property. Now turning to the exhibits, members of the council, the first 4 exhibits the first one is the aerial view of the existing homes looking towards the proposed condominiums. The drawing you see I put together in SketchUp, it's the mass building model study of a 2.5-story dwelling on top of piers. So what you can see here is that this 4 buildings is a pretty good massive wall that looks over these existing homes. Looking to page 2, it's titled View Between Backyards of Existing Homes and Proposed Condominiums. I would ask you to note just how close these tall buildings are to the existing home. And also note that the tall buildings overlook the backyards of all of these existing homes. Privacy is greatly diminished by the scale, the height of these buildings. Turning to the third image would be a view from a condominium balcony at about the second level, or the first level of the dwelling itself that's above the garage. You can see how these condominiums on their second level, their third level, dramatically look over the backyards of these homes, and privacy is greatly diminished for these homeowners. Fourth image is a view in the backyard of the 2-story building that's located adjacent to 15th Street. This is owned by Mark, and it's a view looking down his backyard at these 3.5 level buildings. We need to know that 2.5 stories on top of the buildings is essentially a 3.5-story building. It is nothing less than that. And so I'd ask you to ponder, would you like to live next to a 3.5-story building overshadowing your home that overlooks your backyard? How would you feel about that? Would your privacy be greatly diminished? And another crucial question is, what about my home's value, Rosie's value, Mark's value, Elena's value? their value is going to drop. This is an environmental factor. It happens to be a built environmental factor, but it's going to negatively impact these homes' values. And I don't know who compensates them. So, turning to page 5, this is a composite image. It's the backyard of a home at the Palms. And it shows superimposed a photograph I took of Palmetto Plantation, which is a 3.5-story structure. And you can see that the backyard become a big building with balconies that overlook your backyard. And, privacy is invaded. In my career, I've worked with developers. I've been part of development teams. The proposal that Lance's team has put together, I totally get. I totally get it because they're just looking at the zoning code, the LDR, and saying, oh, I can set a building that's up to 48 feet tall, and so they just construed what they could build. The problem is not the designer. It's not really even the developer at this point in time. The problem is an inadequacy in our LDR, in its buffer zone requirements. And on the 6th sheet, titled Mexico Beach, we have a problem here. We see a chart for a table of incompatible districts. And general commercial, and is it relating to residential, low density, general residential, there are incompatibility issues, and your code highlights that. The issue is that in general commercial, we allow a 48-foot tall building. And quite honestly, most commercial buildings, unless it's an office building, rarely get to be that high. And I also note that the height limitations in every one of the zoning districts in our town is 32 feet. The current LDR governing it allows one of the most intensive uses of land in Mexico Beach. It permits, amongst others, a multifamily building or complex. The building can be planned up to 18 dwelling units per acre. This unit, I calculate at about, on the gross usable area, the net usable area is about 11 units an acre. That's good. I have no qualms with that. I don't think anyone does. But it's really the 48-foot tall building potential. It's massive. The sheer mass of the building negatively impacts the privacy of these neighbors. And it's going to negatively impact their home's value. Another issue concerns lodging. Lodging under the LDR is only allowed in the mixed-use area, zoning district. It's not allowed in any other zoning district, including general commercial. The issue that I point out here is that Airbnb and all the other small-scale rental schemes are essentially lodging. And that is not allowed in general commercial in Mexico Beach. I would recommend that the HOA documents or the owner documents list a limitation of, say, a minimum 6-month lease. This area and other areas of Mexico Beach do not need to become hoteling areas. They're homes, they're residences. Residences available to be rented, to be owned and occupied. Those are very appropriate. There is an alternative to this situation. And I think this is also one that's agreeable to most of the single-family owners that are about this property. That would be a 2-story building. For the 4 buildings that are along the the west side of this proposed project. Put them on grade, no parking underneath. You would end up with 24 two-story dwellings, with 2 parking spaces in front. It would be able to be, walk up on grade. You don't have to climb any stairs to get into your unit with your groceries, etc. I personally experienced this when we looked at property in 2012 in Mexico Beach. My wife had been a month traveling up and down the coast, sleeping in the back of her Prius even, to look at each of these towns, and she had fallen in love with Mexico Beach. I said, look at this great deal over here, Palmetto Plantations. $65,000 for a 2-bedroom unit. She said, I didn't want that. I don't want to walk up those stairs. So we paid, nearly double to get our place in Sea Pines. But that was a good decision because we enjoy being able to take groceries out and walk into our door and into our unit. The advantage of this would be image 7 in this packet, which showed 2-story homes. Image 8 would show the perspective across the backyard between these existing single-family homes and a 2-story building dwelling that is would be next to them in this instance. Now, in the drawings, all of the buildings had 1,850 square feet. I would point out that essentially you're selling these units based on the square footage of livable area within them, and that you generate essentially the same sales revenue by selling a 2-story unit on grade in comparison to a 2-story unit that's on stilts. And this is the advantage of considering this path. The developer then has 2 products in which they can sell. They're going to be people like Judith Black that says, I don't want to walk upstairs. I'm agreeable to park out front and walk directly into my unit. And there are those people that might want to store some stuff under their house, and the remaining buildings on the east side of this complex could be walk-ups with parking underneath. You got a price differential available there, product differential, and that will be, in my opinion, a very appealing market scheme, rather than building everything to be the same unit type. Page 9 would show a potential layout of the 4 buildings along these single-family homes being 2-story dwellings arranged in 6-plex buildings. There would be 4 of those. The rest of the buildings could be on piers. And finally, further back in the packet, I compiled a list of condominium sales by observing sales through Zillow. Not the best real estate closure comparison thing, but it brings forth some interesting points. Condominiums in this community apparently were built 2005, 2007. And there's a wide distribution as to what the sizes of those units are. About 24% of them are greater than 1,600 square feet. And the largest tends to be in the range of 1,800 square feet of dwelling size. That seems to be the marketplace in Mexico Beach. To build a 2.5-story complex, you're going to have a unit size that's about 2,300 square feet. That is developer's choice, but I do know that by looking at sales, that not everybody wants a very large unit. they have a variety of price points in their family budgets to be able to purchase and enjoy a place along this beautiful piece of Gulf that is Mexico Beach. And so I would ask you all to strongly consider asking this developer to reduce the height of the buildings along the west side of their design proposal to 2-story buildings on grade. Their neighbors are going to be agreeable to that. They'll be able to live with that and enjoy the homes that they've owned. And that's the reason they're there. They want to be there just like my wife Judith wants to be there, many of our friends, and I believe every one of you. In closing, I'd like to sincerely give my thanks to everybody that served on this city council board, all of the staff members, past and present, everyone who served on the planning commission, and everybody that muscled through a disaster. You've done amazing work. Let's continue to do amazing work. Make this town a place where people will want to come to, will want to remain living in. And I thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Okay. Are there others?
Michelle Miller, 716 Orlando Avenue. Everyone had an email this morning sent before the deadline of a petition that was put together to start asking you as the city council. It's been signed by more than 150 people, and they're coming to you in good faith as the city council and ask you to stop the current developments for the safety of the people and our ecosystem of this community, and take a good look at making some changes in the future to protect our floodplains as well as our wetlands, which are huge. These really impact our water here, our ocean, our canals, and flooding for future storms. And so you have this packet. I'm going to leave the whole packet with Tammy, and hopefully you will consider the citizens on both of these developments that are currently being put forth to you today as to putting these on hold and asking more protection of our wetlands. Thank you.
Is there any other citizens or comments on this 15th Street development? Yes, sir.
I just want to follow up to a couple comments, clarify a couple things.
Okay.
One really goes without saying, as far as commercial use in commercial space, with condos being allowed under the allowable use. So that's the land development code for everybody reading. Not much for me to talk about there. But one thing was 9-inch pipe was mentioned. So the drainage pipe going down the road, tying all the drainage structures together, 18-inch pipes. So we don't have 9-inch pipes there. We have adequate hydraulic flow to get everything. Everything's been designed to meet Northwest Florida DEP requirements, and to get it achieves the flow needed to get the stormwater to the pond. There's one question on why we need to raise the site, and it wasn't arbitrary. It was there's a lot of reasons. One being stormwater retention, which is another concern. So the stormwater retention and the amount of fill have both been concerns, but the amount of fill is in order to achieve the stormwater retention. And we all know we're pretty close to wetlands. That whole area has a shallow water table. So without taking up over half of the property with stormwater ponds, there's no way without bringing fill in to achieve stormwater retention and meet Northwest Florida DEP's requirements for treatment and attenuation, because we got a 4-inch water table or 6-inch water table, whatever it is. It's very shallow right there on the existing grade. Where do we measure maximum height from? There's two comments on that I just wanted to address. One, we're in a shaded X, so this also goes to building on the ground level. So we can't build on grade, we're in a shaded X flood zone. And I guess this is probably more of a building permit type question, something that will be addressed before we come back before architectural plan, set and finish floor elevation. But there's two ways to look at it in shaded X, as you all know very well. But one being 1.5 feet above the crown of the road in the shaded X, the other being 1.5 feet above the shaded X elevation. Both of those require this to be elevated. Maybe not 10 foot elevated, maybe 4 foot or 3 foot elevated. And you have to elevate anyways. Now we're elevating it a little further within the limits of the LDR on maximum height to allow additional parking, boat parking, overflow parking for visitors, that sort of thing. Another comment on how can we know that these drainage issues and these issues as far as runoff, stormwater runoff retention will be addressed. Well, as the permittee and engineer on the project, I'm required to give a final certification. We get as-built, we go on site ourselves to assess the field conditions along with the as-built. We submit back, we fill out the stormwater certification, we send it back in Northwest Florida or DEP, and they approve it or deny it, and with comments, and I've never had one denied because we have the contractors make the necessary improvements if they are lacking anything before we send in our certification. So there is a process, and it is black and white, and it is in writing, and it is in the form of state approval. Lodging only allowed in mixed use, but not really much to talk about there. We know there's low density, high density, residential, everywhere here has rentals. Recommended alternate going on the ground level, I've just discussed that, and wetlands. So the wetlands issue, we are adding a small amount of wetland fill in isolated, low-quality wetlands. We're not in any, we've got a 30-foot buffer off of the wetlands in the back, which are going to, those are the high-quality wetlands. But the isolated, low-quality wetlands in the front, one real small area, and then a little bit on that slightly larger one, just filling in, just to slope back down to existing grade, are the only impacts we have in this. Nothing to the high-quality jurisdictional wetlands.
Hang on, I got a couple of things I want to ask you. You just mentioned shaded X, and there's two ways to interpret that, or two thoughts.
So the minimum is, once the 500-year floodplain requirements got amended, we used to have to go 1.5 feet above it. So once it was amended, it went to 1.5 feet above the crown of the road, which in this case is way up there. That's the reason there's a lot of fill. This lot is low compared to the road, way low. So 1.5 feet above the crown of the road, and this is probably more more along the areas of the Gulf side of 98, but in order to not penalize the folks that still wanted to raise on pylons like the previous shaded X requirement after the storm, there was a credit given to them to use 1.5 feet above the shaded X elevation to start their maximum height measurement, so they could raise their house on pylons. And I actually think that's going to be lower than 1.5 feet above the crown of the road in this case. So, that's something we'll have to.
With the field, where will the shaded X elevation be? With the field.
I've got. The shaded X elevation is elevation 14. So that's 15.5. The road is, here we go. Take me just a second to get the right page. The road elevation is about 13 to 14, so about the same. So you're looking at about 15 and a half elevation to start the maximum height measurement, which is about a foot and a half above the slab elevation on these proposed parking slabs.
So it's not 4 or 5 feet.
No, it's a foot or two. It's less than 2 feet above the datum to measure that maximum height is less than 2 feet above the slab.
With the field.
With the field. Now, if you reduce the field, the datum would still be the same place.
Right.
You just have taller columns.
You just have to hold that.
So the maximum elevation of the mean roof height would.
So you could build close to grade.
You could build.
You could build
3 to 4 feet above existing grade. Or not existing grade, proposed grade.
Proposed grade. Okay. I follow. I'm with you on that. I was just trying to get that. Okay.
Mr. Roberts had a couple questions. You addressed some of them, the 18-inch pipe. Thank you. And also, you addressed the 2.5 stories versus 2 stories, what it says on here, I think. One of the things that she was concerned about is the housekeeping, this ditch. Is there anything you guys can do about that?
So right now, absolutely, and David's here. I know he wasn't addressing the question. David's here, and as that was mentioned, and David kind of talked about it just for a second. He's going to get his guys out there as soon as we leave here to dress up that ditch, and any silt fence that's damaged needs to be replaced.
And maintained?
Yes, sir. Maintain, absolutely.
You may want to mention the HOA responsibility going forward.
Yeah, well, Common Association documents. Once the project's done, so the intent, and this is the reason we've got the wall where it's shown not on the property line, it's 5 feet inside the property line. There was an existing ditch there that was completely filled in with debris, stuff still from the storm. And David and Jerry's guys actually went out and cleaned this ditch out. It has since gotten trash and other things in it, so that definitely needs to be addressed. But in the end, and the reason the wall is not on the property line, it's 5 feet off the property line, is so that we can establish and maintain a ditch down our property line to allow the drainage from both adjacent properties to get to the road where it slopes the road to the wetlands and achieve what was originally intended with the ditch that was almost no longer a ditch, after the storm, before the debris was cleaned out. So that ditch will be maintained by the condominium association. So if they didn't maintain it, then obviously that is that's an issue that the code compliance could go to just like any other property, go to the condominium association and require them to. But it will be in the condo association documents for all areas inside of that development to be maintained by the condo association.
Thank you.
Good.
I got one more. And it's maybe some of the new guys don't know what I'm talking about. I spent far too much time scratching my head about this than I care to admit. But on the fill topic, in the floodplain ordinance, we talk about compensatory storage shall be provided based on volume by volume after that 12 inches. Unless, of course, the floodplain administrator can reduce or waive that fill requirement based on specific conditions and local drainage that demonstrate that the development will have no more than a minimal effect. Was a study done to show the effect that would have? Or did we put in the volume for volume?
We did not put in the volume for volume. What has been done is the site has been raised to capture, treat, and attenuate stormwater. So if you drop this to, let's say, 12 inches maximum fill, you have to, at least half of the uplands, probably more, would be stormwater because you have no volume. You have no volume there to treat the stormwater. So it is a stormwater runoff and attenuation and treatment concern as to why this elevation is raised, to allow that to contain its own stormwater, treat it, and release the treated water back into the wetland at a slower rate than currently. And so that there's other reasons why it needs to be elevated. The gravity sewer that is there and it flows to the road. There's other reasons that could be accounted for differently if it had to, but the main intent is for the stormwater treatment. And another question I had, and I don't know if the answer's here or if we have, or if you work with staff before we come back to the final. The compensatory treatment is an exemption for 12 inches over the site. So that volume, my question would be, if we ended up having to drop it, right now, the average, obviously the development's not over the whole site, but the average field, if you take it over the whole site right now, is 1 foot, 10 inches. So my question then would be, and I'm not asking this now because the decision hasn't been made on the field, but if we get to the point where the site needs to be lowered, that would be my question. Can we do it as an average of 12 inches over the site like the ordinance reads, and average it, but use that in this area only?
So have we done a study to see the impact to the neighbors or not?
We haven't done a floodplain analysis, but the way the LDR reads, that compensatory treatment is required unless the floodplain administrator allows it. So it's over the threshold without that approval.
Okay. You good?
I got it. It's David.
Yes, sir.
On the east side.
Okay.
We made a ditch. And then when we got past the chain link fence and sort of run into how you gonna address that?
All right, so there was never a ditch on the Wallace pump site we're talking about, correct?
That's correct.
On that side, there never was a ditch there. We put that in there just to help make sure that for right now there's no water going towards that building. It's just a temporary ditch until we get going farther.
But we are gonna move it over on that side instead of the.
Yeah, right now we're currently about 8 feet from the property line with that ditch.
Okay.
So we're 8 foot on this property. Now the ditch that's on the west side of the property, that ditch was already there. The first day we were out there, I met with some of the utility guys from the city. They came out, but there was stumps down in that ditch, trees that fell down in that ditch. So all we did was come and clean the ditch out, which is on this property. So we came and cleared it out. Now, as far as I was telling Lance, we'll go back over there today. I'll take some guys and go over there and make sure there's no debris in there. We'll put another silt fence around the whole thing. It's not a big deal. So we'll go ahead and do it just to make sure. But where the silt fence is to the property is already 25 feet or something, 30 feet?
20 feet something.
It's in that area. So, and it's, most part, it's anywhere between 5 to 7 feet from that temporary ditch is there. So, 3-4 weeks ago, probably longer, 2 months ago, when it rained and rained and rained and rained. Now, I did go down and seen the property over there, and their road floods all the way down. Their whole road floods. I assume your house is on the end? Is there one end?
My house is in the middle.
In the middle, okay. So, now across the street from them, that whole area over there was full of water. But the backyard was not. The backyard did not have water. Now, they had quite a bit of water out on the roadway. So,
I was more concerned about the existing ditch and make sure that the ditch was gonna go back on the village side.
yes, sir, it is.
Okay.
It already is now.
One thing to add is the developer actually agreed to do individual utilities per unit for trash and utilities instead of one master meter, so they have individual trash service. They also added an additional fire hydrant so that they have two. Is that correct, Lance? So in the back, we were concerned about coverage for fire trucks and stuff in the back, so they made that change already, so moving forward for safety. And then the final thing to add was on P&Z last week, it was motioned and seconded for 4-1 to move forward to council approval.
It was.
Approved. Lance, thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're still in the public hearing. Yes.
Lisa Logan, Maryland. It was voted 4-1 at P&Z to recommend approval with 4 specific stipulations. So please make sure that those stipulations are covered.
Michelle Miller, 716 Oleander. I personally want to point out the fact that commercial property is not, the use here is something that's under your control. It's not the general uses of this type of property. And in the past, this property has been brought up to be a commercial development and was turned down. So now it's up to you to decide whether condominiums really need to go on this commercial property. Thank you.
Yes. I saw a hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I still have a problem with the drainage issue. We do already have flooding problems. Who's going to compensate me for the loss of my property value if this is approved and goes up? Who's going to compensate me for if my house gets flooded because somebody didn't maintain the ditch like they should? That's going to happen after the fact. You know, all the complaining in the world by me isn't going to make a difference once it's already happened. Who's going to make sure that that doesn't happen to me?
Yes.
Just one quick comment. I'm Alex Hogan. I live on 7th Street, and listening to Mr. Black and the rest of these people, they have a very good, legitimate position to take. A lot of it's an emotional. So I guess my question to you would be to the city attorney. What are, listening to all the arguments, the counterpoints, what are the legalities of their comments? Are they have the legal rights to say what they did? Not say, but are they right? Can we legally deny this concept plan? What tool can the legal guys, provide you to either approve it or disapprove it? Because there are a lot of emotions in this. Does it meet the ODR? I don't know. Does it meet the comp plan? I don't know. You guys know all that. But from a legal standpoint,
We're going to figure it out.
That's exactly right.
We're going to figure it out.
And let's figure it out, and let's figure it out right for the good of Mexico Beach.
That's exactly right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, last call on public hearing. Yes, sir.
Last thing, I just don't recall the 4 stipulations of the P&Z. I'm not saying it wasn't there, but if we could make that.
I think that was on the other property.
That's
It was
correct.
not on your property.
Okay, that's correct.
No, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm still bringing it
All
up.
right, let's, we're going to close the public hearing. We're going to move to council discussion. On the, what's before us is the site plan approval. I've got a couple of things. One, Lance, for me, I have read that about the sidewalks. I'm going to suggest that you put them in there. I'm going to suggest that you put them in there. Second thing, directed to the engineer and to the developer. You've heard what's been said today, and you've been part of the P&Z discussions prior to. I would ask that you give thought to what you've heard and understand, while the LDR speaks for the LDR, no different than any other person that's going to build a single family house. It is difficult when you take a project like this and put it in a neighborhood that is established, no different than it was in 04 when all those other type things were built. I'm just asking that you give consideration to what you may could modify to help. That's all I'm asking.
Yes, sir.
And my last question is to our city administrator. This plat review, who with the city has reviewed this?
So we've given it to Dewberry for review. They've made comments in working with the developer. And if you have anything to add, you could.
Yeah.
So we were asked to take a look at, start looking at the site plan in conjunction with EPCI. EPCI looked at the vertical, we'll look at the site. We weighed against the requirements of the LDR to bring it forward today for preliminary site plan approval. And we'll continue to review with anything that comes in from Lance against the LDR.
Okay, well, you said he has comments. What?
I thought maybe he had some comments about the site plan review and inspection or that kind of stuff.
So the bottom line is, from the city's position, is that floodplain, everything, all of the criteria that is normally associated with a development of this type has been reviewed for compliance with the LDR. Is that okay?
Yeah, everything that's been said regarding the fill, the floodplain ordinance, and everything's accurate. The floodplain manager does have the right to overrule or to allow more fill. So we'll just continue to work with what comes in and review and advise Doug.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that had happened prior to anything brought before the council for approval. Okay, anyone else? Go ahead.
Okay, just to piggyback on that, so Dewberry did look and see that no more than a minimal effect on floodwater storage?
Yeah. Based on the earlier conversations that Lance had, they were allowed to proceed with the additional bill.
Yeah, also, Lance, just I was thinking the same thing the mayor said. I honestly believe that there are things that I heard today with the drainage, and I think you addressed some of those. Doesn't mean you need to stop there. You need to do the action part of it and take care of the things you said you would do and maintain it. I believe parking is an issue. I would hope that you can go back and maybe look at parking and kind of see if you could have some overflow parking. And height is an issue. I'm not totally against putting it on the ground at 2 stories. I mean, I know there's an impact there, but I think it's something you ought to look at. You heard what went on here. Height is an issue. Thank you.
Okay.
I have procedural questions.
Go ahead.
Originally it was advertised that on the sign it's a development order, planning and zoning had a development order, and now it's a conceptual site plan for us. So I had 3 things I had written. One was the sidewalks we talked about, one was the floodplain we talked about, and then I wrote about certificate of concurrency, which is required before a development order. Now I don't think we're there yet, and I'm just trying to make sure we're not at that point. All of these 3 things can be addressed between conceptual and final, correct?
Yes.
So we're just approving a concept.
Yes, sir. You good? I mean, you got any?
I guess I'd like them. I think the drainage was the most in the height was the main thing today. And what I looked at both of them and I walked. I believe I believe they do what's right. With Dewberry watching I got confidence that happens.
Okay.
Could you clarify 1 second about the sidewalk, whether, I'm assuming that's in the right of way, right? Not throughout the development?
The other
along
sidewalks,
15th Street?
The other sidewalks have been in the right of way.
Sorry?
The other sidewalks on 15th Street have been in the right of way.
Okay, so along
right at the property's edge.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Right at the property line boundary. Okay, so as chair, we'll move for further discussion or a motion.
Doug, these 4 things supposedly the P&Z had in mind, is that all covered?
That's not on there. That's not, she was wrong.
Okay, that's for the other items.
She was wrong. She didn't.
Well, okay, I'm not gonna mention it now, but I got concerned about the way this came about through the P&Z. looked at the meeting. Then this email I got concerns with that, and I will bring it up later, but not today.
Okay, do we have a motion or discussion about this, what's before us? Do we have discussion or a motion about the plat?
I make a motion, we approve the site plan for 932 15th Street.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Tammy, call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Pollak?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Willie?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Okay. Number 7. Item 7 is another preliminary plat review, request for, what is that, at 15th Street?
Doesn't have an assigned address, no, sir. A single-family home.
Yeah, these are single family homes. Okay.
So this also is a preliminary plat, similar to the final review. This plat review will come back to the council for final approval. Dewberry's been involved with this process, review as worked with the engineers. I do have an engineer here for the company right here.
All right.
We also have.
Before we begin, let me officially for the record, this is also a public hearing, and your comments will be so recorded. So the public hearing is open, and sir, podium's yours.
Okay, I didn't know if you wanted to finish. Doug, do you have anything else?
No, we do have EPCI here, as well as Dewberry for any questions for the council.
Okay. Yeah, I think we provided a letter stating what the project is. It's 38 unit single-family residential on 15th Street as well. The intent of the design and the intent of the project is to meet land development code and what's allowed within the zone. And we will have, all necessary permits, stormwater with you guys, with the state. The wetland impact permits will be with the state. The wetland mitigation will be with the state. So about everything checked off.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Did you mitigate some of these roads?
Yeah, every part of it is in the permitting process right now for mitigation.
Meaning you bought?
They will buy I don't know the exact amount, but it's within the state criteria. We've got Dan Garlick looking at the wetlands, assessing them with the state on his back about the quality of the wetlands. And then for every acre we impact, there's a certain acreage we have to purchase off-site. I believe from what he said it was 386. I'm not too familiar with this area, but I believe the road was 386. He said it's up 386 a little ways. That there's a mitigation bank that the owner of this property, the developer, will have to purchase. Let's say we impact 1 acre, he may have to purchase 5 to set aside conservation.
That process of Dan Garlick doing that survey is just underway.
It's in the tail end of the process right now. Yes. We received comments from the state probably March. We responded to all of them, and none of the comments were, we do not want these wetlands impacted to any extent. They were mainly addressed with getting the quality of the wetlands, determining an acreage of off-site mitigation purchase, and things of that nature.
What's the, I'm sure it's in here, what's the wetlands delineation here? What zone are you in? Surely it's an AE.
Yeah, so it's a flood zone A.
Flood zone A.
A. And then right adjacent to it, correct, right adjacent to it is the AE 8.
Yeah.
And this is adjacent to this canal, which is tidally influenced. The current property drains all towards the canal. So with going to FEMA, I would assign this a flood zone 8, elevation 8, with FEMA, and allow them to make that determination or not. Given that the adjacent property is flood zone rate until we take it out.
You know, when you develop, and I'm gonna speak for me now, but if we're gonna develop an A, it's my opinion that this is premature. Come to for a site review in an A zone that has not been completed. That's just my opinion. There's a lot to go on that's gotta happen for an A zone to be developed.
When you say that you're saying determine elevation?
Yes, that's number one.
Yeah.
But number two is this area and the impact in an A. To my knowledge, this city has never done a development in this type of flood zone. To my knowledge, I'm not saying years ago something didn't happen, but this is a big deal to develop an A zone. To me, it's a big deal to we allow that in our city without.
It's all based on the elevation assigned that FEMA will assess and assign. And currently, the property
We have a canal in here.
Correct. And we're not going to develop the canal. The canal will stay existing.
I know that, and I'm not against the development. I'm just voicing that for me, I would rather you come for a site plan review when you see what you can do. I'm not sure you can do this.
Well, that's where we're at now.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure you can do what you have drawn.
Okay.
Now, that's my uneducated engineer opinion. But to me, you're asking us for something because of the flood zone is my only reason I would prefer that you come here when you know what you can do.
And that's where we're at. We'll get a flood zone assigned from FEMA. And
I understand.
Yes.
But for me, I'd rather you come when you have that, because I'm just going to be shocked unless you can just buy enough mitigation bank points to do.
So you're referring to the wetlands?
Oh, definitely. That's what I'm referring to. I'm referring to this A zone, the requirements to develop this. Well, I'm saying, I know what it is. That's why when I saw this, I thought, did that not bother you? I mean,
there's no restriction in the LDR that prevents it from developing. In fact, the floodplain ordinance allows it to do the fill in the special flood zone. I think what you're talking about will flush out if he's unable to get a permit to the state.
Correct. With the wetlands.
Exactly. I'd like to see I'd like to see.
Yeah, and that will obviously be provided before the final.
I know it would be. I know it would be. I understand this is I understand everything. I'm just saying that because of the flood zone, to me, this is going to require this city to be we're going to have to do a lot of due diligence for us as a city to allow this kind of development in the zone. That's all I'm saying. There's a lot involved here. This isn't what we just talked about. This isn't the same thing at all.
No, that's right.
And yet you heard you said here heard all that. I'm just council might want to approve a preliminary plat. I'm just saying I have concerns about doing that based on the requirements to do this, not only from the city but from the state, from DEP, from all of the things that are.
All those will be outside the city. Will be in place prior to.
Well,
obviously,
I'm just saying I just think I'm very leery. Not having done one of these, and I know the LDR allows for flood, I understand that. But that's an aggressive, very aggressive 38 units to put in an A zone. And I'd like to see what it's going to take for you to do that.
Okay.
Too aggressive.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
And I may be the only one here interested in that, but
I agree.
I just think it's
Oh,
too
we do,
aggressive
okay.
at this time to approve the preliminary plan. For me. Well, that's not for that, but again, A is not, I mean, what we just went through is nothing compared to what this is. All right, so we can have, the public hearing is open. Sir, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You have any other comments? Okay.
I was just here to address whatever comments you guys
Okay,
had.
all right. Then the public hearing is open and come on.
Michelle Miller, but I'm coming up as the planning and zoning, and I think Bobby's been toward this. When we were in planning and zoning, we denied this in our first vote, and we were told we had to push it forward, and we didn't have to. Looking back, I went back and looked at our video, it was not handled correctly. And I hope in the future, it will be handled correctly as P&Z. Now, that's my P&Z. Now, you want my personal, I think this was way premature, shouldn't have even come to P&Z at that point.
Okay. Any other comments on concerning while the public hearing's open? Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to agree with your assessment, Gene Byrne. And I know, I'm not sure exactly which part of the 15th, but I know there was some talk about using that to help clear the water in the canals with the Corps of Engineers and to eliminate the canal emptying into the Gulf where it dumps nutrients and whatever, that this was all part of it. After the hurricane, you all, many of you that were there, did a brilliant job of trying to protect our area. And I think this is a huge area that needs to be protected. And I thank you for your concerns.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Lisa Logan, Maryland. In addition to the many questions about the floodplain, which is a huge question, there's also another issue that needs to be brought up about the development, which is the traffic right there at the curve on 15th Street. I don't think many people are aware of the concentration of traffic that we are going to add to that particular dangerous spot in the next year, because we have not only all of the traffic on 15th that comes down to connect into 98, but you have all of the existing homes and condos. You have the proposed developments, the one at the corner of 15th and 5th, the one that 16 duplexes across from the Mormon Church. You've got Sea Pines, Palmetto, Plantation, the Palms. And then as you come around the corner, you've got all of the people on Hatley Lane who come out. You've got the Casuna subdivision, which is almost built out. You've got Ocean Plantation that is almost completely built out, that has a tremendous amount of summertime traffic. And that's all at the curve. And as you go around the curve to 98.
Yes, we live here.
Yes, just a minute, please. I don't think that people understand what's going to happen at the corner of 15 with the bank business, and then when the Ocean View Motel comes on, his parking is going to be on 15th right there at the curve. So if you add 38 houses on the curve with the additional 2 cars per house, some are going to have boat traffic pulling in and out. The golf carts are going to be added there. On that curve, the traffic is such that the city does not have a plan to deal with how is all of that going to work. So the city needs to look at how the street can absorb anything extra in addition to the floodplain. Thank you.
Any other comments? I'm going to close the public hearing. Go to the council for discussion. I see us as discussing it, motion to approve, motion to deny, or motion to table.
The contingencies, just to repeat those, that were brought forward from the Planning and Zoning Council included, it was a 4-to-1 vote for approval, contingent on, the road exit, also entrance in and out, sidewalks, and a concurrency study. That was the recommendation from P&Z.
Yeah, I think those things are all viable and should be looked at, but, I mean, I'm the new guy here, but it sounds to me like we got the cart before the horse, based on this information. So why don't we table it and ask for that information prior to moving forward with the rest?
With due respect, sir, you understand you understand what, if we do table this, why we would table it?
I understand what you're saying about the flood zone. Now, with the wetlands, that's all being handled by the state. With the flood zone, that'll all be handled by FEMA. And then once we establish the elevation, shouldn't be any issue there. With the traffic, we're actually clearing the woods there, which will give a larger field of view, so safer for people driving in this area. I would recommend the city, if it is a hazard area, put up warning flashers and reduce the speed limit around that curve. But we do have the analysis for the traffic as well. So, yes, I understand what you're saying. With the flood zone, we'll get FEMA to assess that and establish an elevation.
David, you monitor that? Our floodplain manager, whoever with y'all that oversees that floodplain issue looks at, I mean,
Yeah,
y'all follow that process, I think is the right way to say that.
We'll be involved. I don't know if we're going to be acting floodplain manager. I think Doug work with someone in Bay County that might be, but we will definitely be involved with it. I will like
Whoever that is, that's what's important. Okay, back to the council. Questions for either this gentleman or how we want to proceed?
Okay, what is the floodplain? The height, A 12 feet?
the base flood.
Yeah.
It's
It's an undetermined elevation right now. There's a process with FEMA to send the application to them and make a determination, and FEMA will establish a flood zone there and then change it to an AE within their firm. So it would AE, then they would establish elevation. If you look to the canal just to the south, it's AE 8. So if you look at this property, it's flip it over essentially because it's canal influence from the flood. So that would be our recommendation to FEMA, would be an AE 8.
A doesn't have it. A does not even have it.
Okay. Correct.
Okay.
I make a motion that we table the preliminary plat approval on 15th Street.
Okay, we got a motion. We got that. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Pollak?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Welly?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate your time. Okay. Doug, I think you're up. Number 8, correct?
Yes, sir. We will continue on that last one to work with the developer and the contractors to get some information back to you soon. Next item, discussion is on Parker Park. Excuse me. Yes. Parker Park FEMA funded repairs only. So we're not talking about total design right this second. We had our public hearing. We talked a little bit about our workshop, about what would be interested from the residents for Parker Park, and we heard all those comments, circulated them, and then come back. So that reason I bring that up is because that influences how we do the FEMA repairs. So I've included a map for you guys to see of the bathrooms. So one of the main comments was they made sure they had enough bathrooms for the females and the males, and we came back with the 3 and 3 of each side. So there's a chance that maybe we could actually squeeze another one in, but right now for this design, for what goes forward, it would have 3 and 3, which would be adequate in my opinion. And Dewberry could speak to that more if you'd like.
Well, there's no guidelines for the number of bathrooms required.
We think that suits our needs. You don't have any pictures of the building. This has got to go to our architectural further for what the building's going to look like, but as a floor plan, that's
Is this a prototype for like under the ponds and down by where Toucans used to be?
Not necessarily a 3-2, but the building itself should be similar in style.
I think we ought to try to get this for every part.
Okay, so one of the issues I do run in with that I can work on is how we bid that out. FEMA's only going to give us, of course, what we had before back for like the 8th Street and under the palms. The palms has a pavilion built in with it as well as the bathrooms. Up on 8th Street, I think it's just 1-in-1, David, correct me. But, we get back what we had. So we've talked before amongst several of us here that we could possibly look at bidding in two different ways, what FEMA would pay for, what we would want to upgrade. We could use city funds to upgrade that. That's how that would have to go down, as I understand.
Well, my point is that this should be pretty the minimum for a park or for that 1-in-1 thing is, that was great 25 years ago because we hardly had more than 1-in-1. Right. We got more than 1-in-1 now, and we're going to have more than 1-in-1. So, if we can do that, then it saves us in the design, and we know what we want to build. It's like everything else. Can we afford it? I mean, that's always going to be the deciding factor.
And then I just pulled up under the palms is exactly what we said. It's 1-in-1 with the urinal. On the men's side, it would have a urinal and a stall, and on the other side, it would have just a urinal. So maybe we could look at some options for that, David, to go forward with those. But
don't y'all think that we need to expand in that restroom facilities now? It should be advanced. I mean, this is the time. Future time. So,
yeah, I understand.
But as far as this, I like this. I mean, I think this is, this is what a lot of people talked about when they came to the public meeting.
I think we need to do it all three of them. What, I don't know.
I'll look at that.
Against, but I think.
Yeah, we don't look at it.
It's just money. We definitely look into it, though. That's not a problem.
No.
That's all it is, money and time.
So we'll look at that options on how we would go forward for those two different designs so we can figure out if we do go with the FEMA route, which reimburses us for whatever, and then we can track any additional things that we do. I think we can work on bidding that out.
So
on the other
purpose today is to say, yes, we like it.
If you like the floor plan for what we have for under the Parker Park, is specifically what I'm speaking about today. I've also included an overall plan of what we would get back from FEMA. So for FEMA, I'm looking for approval, and the number one reason why we're here talking about approval not only is the size, but is the location of the bathroom. So on your larger map of the park, you can actually see where the restroom shifted back from the original handicap slots that are there. So it would move more towards the back in the center, so it's not really dead center of the entire park where the temporary one is right now. It'd be further back. In between there, we look for some covered area, which would be a 30-by-60 pole barn, could be an option, but that's down the road. FEMA is also covering 30 curb stops, so those would come in, the removal if we needed to. Remember, this is grass, parking. They're covering a double-sided wood fence on 6x6, so it's 450 feet with a double gate. So they're going to repair. We're going to bid that out. There's 190.
Where is that going?
That would go along the side of the houses that are currently there on Parker Park Road, David. Yes, so all the way down that long side there. We're the one that was kind of blown away.
Already finished.
That doesn't belong to us.
I know it doesn't. And we're going to fence in front of it?
Well, that's what we would have money to do for. We've also had some comments from other people to make it a nicer fence, but it doesn't really, it just says a wood fence, a double-sided wood fence. It doesn't say, vinyl or taller or shorter, those kind of things. So that's what they would repair is what we had. So we could bid that out and then decide what we wanted to do later with that when it came in, or match it up to the other one. We could decide that, but that's what they've covered for us. In addition to that, we have a 4x6 wood sign for the park. We've also got a wooden picnic table and 6 benches. So things that we would do according to this overall plan, which I would like to get out to the world so they can see that, what we kind of talked about. We would place accordingly these facilities that we're talking about with utilities and future improvements so that we could fit that into what FEMA's given us. So when we run our lines and we do our electric and we do our water and sewer, we're set up for what we really want to do for our overall plan. They only give us a certain amount to get back what we had before, but we're working to move that a little bit further back so it gives more park room in the front. So those kind of items are there. So I'm looking for a recommendation to move forward with the items that FEMA has given us. that we have approval to bid out and start doing the work for those based on what I've given you today. And then before we do that, we probably should, I'll wait for your recommendation.
Okay. You see where it's located now versus where it was or where it used to be. And you see the design. Everybody good with that?
Can you find mine?
Here you go, Bobby. Chair.
That's bad. Yeah, back in that corner.
That's better than no.
So it's further back. You could also access it from, a future pole barn that would be there. There would be handicap parking that would go down in front of that. The sidewalk, I don't know if I mentioned that, excuse me, 196 linear feet, 4-foot sidewalk will be replaced. So they'll remove what's there that's all busted up, put in 196 feet. That kind of fits into the design that David has drawn out here for us, so that you can access it from the handicap spots to get down to the front. So, my recommendation is to put this out to the world. If you guys are good with everything, we can put it on the internet for a few days, for a week or so.
Yeah, let those folks, a lot of people had interest, so let's please put it out there so everybody have a chance to see what we're doing.
Okay.
See what kind of comments we get.
That's on the overall scheme, like wherever a stage would be. All those are future things that cost money that we have to figure out how to do. But Tommy mentioned earlier, the staff put together a temporary stage. So we not really had much of one. So they built a stage that's in 4 sections. So if we had, for example, an event down at Under the Palms, we could take an 8-foot section or the whole thing if we needed to and move it to Under the Palms for that day and use it for like the 4th of July parade and, or excuse me, the run, things like that. So it's not going to be there as a permanent item. We can move it elsewhere, but it's a temporary until we figure out what we're going to do. So that way we can host some events there and have a stage. But all those items, I'd be glad to put this out for a solid week on the internet, on Facebook, on our website, so people can make comments, and then I can bring back any major concerns to you guys related to the rest of the park, and then we can move forward on that.
We good with that? Good. Consensus is move forward.
Thank you. Okay. I'll work on those restrooms in the other parks as well.
All right. You're still up. Matter of fact, you're up for a while.
I haven't had a chance to talk much, sorry.
Okay.
Right now. Just trying to catch up here, sorry. Mexico Beach Dog Park. So at the last meeting, it was suggested that I look into some options for a possible dog park throughout Mexico Beach and look at some places around the city where we could possibly put one that wouldn't be a major financial impact back to the city. I did look at several spots, and I worked with Dewberry to come up with a design of what it could look like. So I have attached in your packet a couple copies of 2 different styles of dog parks. You have that, sir?
I do.
Okay.
I saw that.
And then it would be the first place, the main place that I found that it's viable now based on restrooms and the ability to have parking available and not have to add all those kind of items was at Under the Palms Park. So this would be west of 7th Street in between Maryland and Georgia. So I've drawn it out based on what you look on the internet and see what a dog park size should be. It says about 1 acre, so which is pretty large for that area. So it does fit in there. We set it up with 10-foot setbacks. There's a gate to go through for little dogs and big dogs, and then for the dog doesn't run wild. We've added, and a big comment last time was make sure there's enough parking so we can still have events down there at that park. We had 200 feet of grass parking, and it's about 80 feet wide. So there's anything, if it's deemed that this is a spot, we can adjust any of that. It could be smaller, it could be more setbacks, it could be all kinds of different things. It could be one square instead of 2. Based on what I gave you, the design cost, just an estimated cost. If you did the black 4-foot fence with gates, that kind of blends into the area a little bit better. It's about $26,000 for that's installed. The city could do some of that ourselves if we need, but that's with install. If you do just the regular galvanized chain link fence, it's about $23,000. So that's with their install and the gates. If we had our druthers, as they so to speak, that's what it would cost to build it there. And that could be utilized for many different ways. Maybe developers could help with that. We could also have some assistance through our impact fees because it would be a new facility, dog park. So The only other spot there's two other spots in my opinion that we could have put it, not that we talked about any other ones, but at 14th Street where the fire station and police station used to be, if it's determined that we're moving that 100%, which we're really close, then maybe we could go there, but there's no restrooms. It would have to be porta potties or something like that if we had that. There would be parking, but we could make a spot there if we had. It's not real convenient for everybody to get to, but it is there. There's not a whole lot of impact around that. The other option would be at the 25 acres. Whenever we do develop that, maybe you could go in the back of that somewhere behind the municipal complex. There is a lot of usable space out there that is we can't really build on. And that's another reason why Under the Palms is kind of appealing, because we can't put any structures over those pipes that are there. So a nice fenced gated area is appealing because of that. But it is a lot of dogs that could be there, so I understand that too. So I just have to make my recommendation. You asked me for my opinion. I laid it out, and I'm open for discussion if you have better ideas or what you need me to do.
All right. You see the recommendation. Any comments from out here about the dog park? Proposed dog park?
Are those designs online for us to see? I don't believe they were in the information packet, were they?
No, ma'am, this was just for the council's discussion.
Did you hear that? They were not. They were not online. They're not online, and they're not just a discussion item, so they're not available. They're obviously available to all the people that email me. Somebody, they got them nowhere. They got more going. I don't know.
You a topic. I got some calls on Saturday.
Anyway.
Well, when I first mentioned this, my thoughts was closer to 7th Street, of course, and not as long or whatever. I can understand people's concerns about having in between their houses and all this kind of stuff. I still like the idea of having a dog park. I don't know where that, even though that's a perfect place for it, as far as the room and all that. I like to think about somewhere maybe like on that 80 acres. That it'll be away from the houses. That's one of the main concerns. Nobody wants a bunch of people to go around the house and the dogs and all this kind of stuff. So, since I brought it up, that's my feelings.
Yeah, my 2 cents on it is I think Under the Palms is probably the wrong area. Their backyards are 10 foot from the dog park. I don't think that's enough. So I would say that that area is not the right area to put it in. I would suggest something like I discussed, maybe in the 25 acres off, that we were going to have there, or the 80 acres. Either way would be a better choice away from homes. I did go up to Veterans Park and look up there. That place, the dog park is way in the back of the park. It's also more than 1,000 feet away from any house. So I think that's a plus. 26,000 is way underestimating the cost it's going to cost us. They have double gates. We don't have double gates. You have to introduce the dog to the area and not let other dogs out. So they have to be double gates. So we'd have to add that in. Concrete pads they have for water, so that you don't have mud. Shaded area overhead. A couple little training areas to climb over, and picnic tables. So I think the cost is probably underestimated. We'll have to look at it. That's my report.
My interpretation is we just need to find another place for it. And I agree with Richard about the houses. Who wants somebody walking behind the houses, even though I walk there every day. I just
You may not have to be.
hell, it's the only thing I go home with a bulletproof vest. But, I just think that's the wrong look at it. And I know what you said about the bathrooms, and it was really a good idea, but, and I'm with Richard, I think the price I got on about 1,000 foot of chain link fence and what all we need was a lot of money, and I'd rather take that money and put it toward the bathrooms with the 3 and 2 or whatever you said in the dog park.
And I'll tell you, I love the spot until Saturday afternoon. No, I no longer like that spot.
All right, so the consensus is
Back to the drawing.
back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
All right, we good?
Yeah, yes.
All right, moving on. But you did a good job of laying.
Looks nice. David gets all the credit on
I
that.
don't want to not give you credit. Okay. All right, you're still up.
The next item is the project list update. All right. So our projects are moving along. I kind of go slow, just in case there's any questions, but back to the first one on the list is the 8th Street bathrooms. We actually just worked on, I got approved through EPCI, the letter of no objection, which was we requested from them for the FDEP CCCL line submittal. So we sent that back. We had an original design of just the bathrooms like I spoke about earlier, 1 and 1. We'll need to adjust that with our architects, but we're not too far down the road on that, so we can work on that option as well. So the 8th Street bathrooms are moving forward, working on our permits. The 15th Street bridge repairs, I told you last time that we received 2 bids. We selected the low bid. It's E&D Contracting. They're scheduled. They've been selected. We're working on a notice to proceed and a start date. That would be related to that he had a job that he was finishing up somewhere else. So he's working on a start date for us. So to get back to us. So that's just on the curb on 15th Street, the guardrails and the minor repairs there. That's FEMA covered. Excuse me. The boat ramp expansion. I don't want to be going into a black hole just saying we're waiting on our grant, but we're waiting on a grant approval, which is probably September. So you'll hear me say that a couple times. The next one is the bypass pumps. We had good progress with that between David and the utility department and myself met and went over some questions that Glenn had related to those pumps and how they're set up. They've got the answers back from the design team. And working on finalizing and advertising the bid next week. So we'll get that out the bid for those 3 lift stations to add diesel generators to. The canal dredging, great news. They have done a wonderful job on the canal dredging. The demobilization is almost completed for spoil site 1, which is off of the Canal Parkway. So that'll get all that traffic out of there soon. Supposedly they hauled all the dirt that had out of there, and they're just kind of grading it back to what it was before they started. So that's good news. So they're starting to work on spoil site 2 now, and they're slowly getting all their stuff out of there. I shouldn't say slowly. They've gotten their Connex box out of the way that was on the boat ramp and several of their other items that were there. So we're moving towards the Golly Whopper to having more room at the boat ramp. So we're starting to get everybody's stuff out of there as quickly as possible. So that is doing well. We did receive our first payment where we paid $1 million to the Crowder Wolf. We received that back. So we're going to work on our next payments to keep that going forward. So that should speed up the future payments process because we got past the initial one, so that helps us a lot. So the next one, citywide stormwater repairs. The bonds are completed. The notice to proceed is in the works for a start date. So that would be on that what we approved last time, the $1.5 million project, the first phase of that. So we should be seeing some change to that very soon. Citywide street paving is completed. They moved all their equipment out except for one tractor at the boat ramp, which they're having trouble, couldn't get started. They're going to drag it up on some. Tommy tells me they're going to get it on a low boy, get it out of here, get it out of our way by this week. So ready for that to be over with. The paving, they've completed that. We're working on bids for the striping citywide. We received 1 bid so far, and it's a very large number, so we have to bid it out. We submit that through FEMA. It would be a reimbursable item that we'd have to pay for up front, but we're working on that as well. The dredge purchase, 2023 delivery, December, as it stands right now, jetty, so we're waiting on the permits back from the Army Corps and DP, so that project is still moving. The manhole covers waterproofing project is we're working on a start date. They've been issued a notice to proceed, and they're very excited to do this job here in Mexico Beach, so that is moving forward. So we'll get those kind of covered up to help with us in stormwater and sewer treatment. The marina and boat ramp pavilion fish cleaning stations. if you've noticed, maybe if you've been by, they focused the primary goal is get the boat ramp done. The bathroom and the fish cleaning station over there. They do still have scheduled work to come on the other side over at the Canal Parkway, but their goal is to get us usable space. They've actually started grading over the boat ramp this week. The staining is supposed to start next week. Handrails and cables have been submitted. They're going to start getting installed. The exterior doors are being installed on the 12th this week. The siding started already, so you saw the slats going around the outside. They were waiting on some deliveries, some very custom shiplap coming our way. The sidewalks got started this week. Electrical and plumbing trim out to continue, and the grading is going on, as I mentioned. So their goal is to be done with this by the end of the month for that project over there. On the Canal Parkway Pavilion, the framing materials will be delivered this week, actually today, I think, or tomorrow. And the framing will start on the 16th, so next week. And they've got concrete work continuing right now. So, as I told you, they've slowed down a little bit at the Canal Pavilion because they're trying to get us open on the other end. They can ship all their stuff out of our area, and we can move on with our life at the boat ramp. So, that's where we stand on those items. Marina boat slips covered with lips. We've been working with David with Dewberry under design, and we're prepping for bid documents right now. So we're hoping to get that bid out because it is a larger project.
Wait a minute.
Yes, sir.
We're not bidding that.
We're going to come back with some plan. I'm not ready to bid it yet. We're working on the documents. I think the price of it, I think we discussed the price. If I'm wrong.
We already bidded that. And it came back at some ridiculous number.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna revise the design and see which one works best for the city, bid it out
Or to do it in-house and.
Correct. Split it up, how we're going to do it. So we're getting that together so we can kind of
If
see
we
that.
bid it out, we're gonna have to, that's that bonded thing, we're gonna get that into all kind of.
Understand, very expensive.
Very expensive for what should be.
Because before we sent out a design bid, and so this would narrow that scope for us.
We just left it open-ended, and that didn't work too well. And it won't work well, it won't work again.
Well, we'll get the documents ready and see.
I didn't need to put them out for the world yet. We're getting those items together so we know what we're looking for. Parker Park, we discussed that for repairs. Thank you for your approval to move forward. We'll get that on the internet for everybody to see ASAP. Parker Park Waterway is kind of on hold at this time. The next one is the pier. We're working on our permits. There were some questions that came back about lighting and sea turtles and stuff, and they're squaring those away with those. But the Army Corps does not have a clock, so we're waiting. We're at their pleasure on that pier. But the police and the fire and municipal complex, in my opinion, I think we had a pretty good call with them last week. We needed a timetable. We got very good support from the state of Florida Department of Emergency Management. The deputy director, Melissa was on the line with us and kind of drove the narrative, and she works very closely with the gentleman who's in charge of the CRC, who is it's in his queue. So they've got a direction, some of the processes that we're going to go. We didn't get the answer we wanted, which was, here's your money, take it going. But I think we laid down the fact that we have the state support, and the state is actually pushing for us to get this going because they know we fell into that black hole previously, and we did not want to go back into that area. So. Anything else wants to add on any of those items so far? The street lights. So the citywide master plan came back on where we had current lights and lighting. We've made a suggestion for some additional ones to be added in to add a little more uniformity around some of the other streets, and they're going to come back with Duke Energy will come back with that to get the install dates. Sunset Park. If you notice, the paving was completed at Sunset Park. They're working on their install of some of their beautification around the outside. They've got the same issue going on with their shiplap siding. All right, so they got the siding going on the side of that building at Sunset Park. They still have a completion date of the end of this month in May. So that would be exciting for that. Maybe kind of it times up with the opening of one of the hotels there. Some exciting times around Memorial Day weekend for that place. The surge gate for the canal, we're working with Atkins on an RFQ to find out who could do this project for us and give us a little more insight on what we would want to do if we did it. So the next one is the Under the Palms Park. We discussed that. We'll work on our bathroom layout. And then the last one is the underwater debris removal. We're still working with Nick on some money for the grant money to come back for that. And currently there's no money to pay for That's my report on the projects. I know there's a lot of them. Is there any idea that maybe we alternate this on every other time? Is it too repetitive for you? I'm asking for your guys' direction. If you like hearing it, I'm okay with that. It does update the residents online, but if it's too repetitive because we're moving along in some of these processes,
Here's what I'll do. Keep the list. And if we have questions, we'll ask you. Instead of going through here, it may be beneficial but maybe not every meeting to do what you just did, but it may be beneficial for those that are listening to say, hey, that's going on.
I'm always going to be prepared to answer any of them, but if you want to
maybe just do it once a month, and in the meantime, keep the list, and if something comes up we want to ask you, we can do that. We have the list.
Thank you.
But we want the list.
Yeah, we want the list.
You got it.
Any comments or questions that may have come from that? Okay. Mr. Turner?
Yes, I just wanted to reiterate to the council that I will, because it's so prolonged in the process, I will be starting the annexation of that 80 acres that was just purchased from St. Joe as soon as possible. And I just also wanted to give each council member and the mayor a heads up that I will be contacting each of you individually sometime in the next week to be ready for the next meeting about some potential litigation that we may be facing with regards to some mutual aid agreement that we had entered into with the Jacksonville Electrical Authority after the hurricane. I have been in negotiations with them, and I think that's going to be giving recommendations. To give recommendations, usually I don't want to do a public forum because it deals with litigation strategy and such. I did contact the League of Cities at a suggestion of the mayor, and they really didn't have any guidance or anything to offer to me with regards to this. So I just want to give you a heads up that I will be contacting each of them individually because we really kind of do need to make a decision at our next meeting.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
All right. Adrian, you got anything?
I just look forward to working with everybody. Sorry I missed you last time and I got scooped up.
I'm going to come back.
You enjoyed it. I did enjoy vacation, but look forward to working with everyone. And I'm sure I'll have some crazy questions along the way like today, but bear with me.
All right, Doug, I just want to get him ahead of you, then we'll come back.
I needed a break anyway, so I appreciate it. I do just want to recognize a local restaurant here, Killer Seafood. Has done a great thing. Last week was Local Government Week, and we celebrate local government employees and things that we all do working for the residents. And he's offered to buy lunch for the city staff and any employee of the city later this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So they'll attend. I just wanted to make sure I said Michael and those guys at Killer Seafood. That was really nice of them to do that, and the employees appreciate it. And I did. Some funny thing was, I guess I'm used to more employees, I guess, but I said, hey, do you want me to give them a ticket? He goes, no, I know every one of them. So that was cool for me, but that was very impressive for him and his company to do that, and I'm excited. The next thing is we're hosting an event it's called Party in the Park. It's going to be at Parker Park on May 19th from 6 to 9. We have 2 food trucks that'll be there, British Eatery, as well as That's What Cheese Said. So they'll be there to serve some food that night. Greg's Davis, a local band here. They have a band called Bad Decisions. They're going to play that night from 6 to 9, just a little music, and everybody's welcome. So hopefully we can enjoy ourselves there that night. Something a little bit different outside and get back to that normalcy. The last thing that I do want to bring your attention is we've received a resignation letter from our harbor master. John Lee has elected to resign for his personal reasons, and so we're in the process of posting this position and looking for a replacement. I have talked to a number of folks kind of talking about the responsibilities and requirements. I've looked at other job descriptions and the pay and so forth. So we will be working on bringing that back to you as we find somebody to fill the position. Other than that, we're having a great time, and I can't believe that Derby horse won.
Speaking of the party night, or what you call it, what's it being called?
Party in the Park.
Party in the Park. Is that a good time to look at our golf cart?
I didn't want to say that out loud, but I've been working with Tommy on a path that we can get behind where some of those things go, to go behind that building. I've talked to the sheriff's office. if you come, what's the name of the summer house? Instead of their sidewalk, if I can redirect them, I'm looking at a way to kind of keep them off 98 as much as possible. So if I don't go on that sidewalk, if I work on a path along there, I'm working hard to have that option. I wasn't ready to announce it, but that's our goal. But we have to have some kind of stabilization there on that dirt.
We wouldn't just use the sidewalk for that short time?
I don't want to announce that because it's not really loud because it's FDOT. I was working on something.
Well, that's another thing I want to ask. Have we talked to DOT recently? I know what they told me, but I'm going back. Now, sidewalks have been down, I don't know how long. But have we broached that subject?
Tommy may be able to answer that, but I have not.
No, sir, we have not.
It's not wide enough for a golf cart based on its
Well, they use it all the
St.
time.
Joe is no.
I'll be glad to reach out to Martin and talk to him about it, what we would like to do, how we would like to get down there and get back to where we want to know.
Or ask for forgiveness. You tell me. I was going that route, and Marty calls me Sheriff Neighbor over here making his own rules.
A multi-use path has to be a minimum 8 feet wide as far as DOT. But if you talk to them and they make some kind of decision on it, we'll do whatever we need.
Well, I just see, they don't have an 8-foot path.
No, they don't.
They
don't.
Yeah, they ain't supposed to be on the roof.
That's what I was doing with my try it out, see how it goes.
Well, I mean,
that's
we
another reason
all
for
want to
moving
be
them off
law
the path.
abiding, but I just think that we can make it work. I just think we can make it work.
Immediately the comment came up was I want to come from the other way, or I want to come across 98. So the can of worms opened wide open. So I'm working through a solution.
I'm just saying, okay. You're saying 8 feet is a requirement for multi-use path?
You can pass somebody.
Pedestrian and golf cart. I think it's a minimum 8 feet for a multi-use path.
And I was keeping them off Summer House because that has that zigzag sidewalk, right? That's the one that has the. Yeah, that's the one.
It's going to open up a different world for us if we can make that happen.
I'm working on it, and I think once we start to develop a little bit more to the 25 acres behind us, and get a road going across that canalway, we can start making our way a little bit easier there. So
All right.
I promise you, I think it's a great idea to cut down
After
on
the
the cars.
hotel by action.
And we got a special technique.
All right. Jerry, you got anything?
I got two things. I forgot to ask Tommy about the sign for my boat show. They're in the works right now.
We give them what
We're
we want
waiting,
to say.
they've been sent to the sign place and we're waiting on the proof to come back. As soon as the proof comes back and it's approved, they'll get them done in about less than a week.
Sure need them up there before we get this fishing started.
We'll have them over there.
And another thing I got is our boat ramp. I know we got a piece of equipment down there called the pit. But we have our fishing snack season will be here before you know it. It will be here. And we need to get everything out from down there that we can get out. But we can be in position to park the more than 100 boats and trailers that we got, even though we have the 3 acres.
Understood.
And there's a lot of stuff that needs to be moved.
We're going to get moved one way or another. They got this week to get it out of here. We're going to figure it out.
All right.
Yes, sir. Understood.
All right.
Got anything?
I'm good.
Rick?
15th Street Bridge, is there anything, I know we're doing repairs, is there any way that we could do a crossover there with wood built or?
So you and I walked it the other day, looking at it. We have a feasibility study going through. The DOT is working on it. DOT is working on a feasibility study. This gets us paid for. It's such a long span. Tommy and I have talked about just a walking trail, so doesn't have to be quite as wide as you have to have for the carts and things like that, or buggies or something. But I don't have any plans on how to get over it otherwise, unless we start working on some engineering or something. But it's permits, and that's why I was working with DOT to they were going to pay for it, and they want to make a multi-use path, and they're going to make a multi-use path coming all the way down 98 till you get to 15. And there's possibility of more all the way down. They've got that in their study through the TPO that was presented last week, and they're really trying to make more walkable community in Mexico Beach, and that's really going to help us a lot with our traffic. So I don't have a better answer for you, other than it's high on my agenda to get that bridge.
All right. Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Thank everyone for coming. Appreciate it. Doug, I assume